A quick housekeeping announcement, ladies and gentlemen. In a couple of minutes, we will be starting the closing ceremony. We'd like to ask all distinguished members of the participants to please make your way into the hall and take your seats. We will be starting the closing ceremony very shortly. Simultaneous interpretation of Korean English, French, and Spanish is provided during the ceremony. And if you can, there seems to be a slight delay, and I'm very sorry to be announcing that there will be a delay of 10 minutes. So you can take your break. We will have to push back the closing ceremony to 7:40 p.m. Korean time. So you still have some time. Take a break for 12 minutes, and then we will start the closing ceremony at 7:40 p.m. Our apologies for the delay. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will soon be starting the closing ceremony. Please take your seats. The closing ceremony will begin very shortly. We apologize once again for the delay. Please take a moment to check if your cellular phone has been muted or turned off. We will proceed to the closing ceremony as our guests take their seats. quick housekeeping announcement. This will be the last call. We will be starting the closing ceremony very, very shortly. Please do take your seats. Thank you very much. We'll be starting the closing ceremony. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will now be starting our closing ceremony. We urge you to please take your seats. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, joining us from around the world, great to see you again. My name is Callie Jung, greeting you once again as the MC for the closing ceremony of the fifth ICLC. Well, it has been a truly remarkable past 3 days of sessions, meetings, and functions among 40 cities under the theme of From Emergency to Resilience, building healthy and resilient cities through learning. In particular, we facilitated knowledge exchange on global health education in cities to improve resilience in the future crises. Now, the accumulation and exchange of ideas for the past 3 days have been extensive, and now it is time to check up on the status of our discussion. First, for that, we will have the report from the Mayor's Forum on the Global Network of Learning Cities. Mayor Anelica Alvarado Juarez from Huachinco, Mexico, will give her remarks. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Juarez to the stage with a big round of applause. Mayor Juarez, please come to the stage. Mayor Juarez of Huejinco, Mexico, will give us the report for the GNLC.
Muchas gracias, muy buenas tardes a todos, agradezco su atención. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you to everybody for organizing this event and leading us to this conclusion of the International Conference on Learning. As I'd like to thank the mayor and his wife for offering us such wonderful hospitality. As we've just finished the last breakout meeting of this conference where we compared our experience between mayors, those represented in this room and those that were connected online. We came to the conclusion that it's very important in order to improve above all the work that we have done as cities to continue examining what our strategy of the next 2 years should be. And what we think is relevant is that we should focus on firstly reinforcing the network and secondly looking at funding options. Along those lines, when I focus on strengthening the network, we think above all we need to move on from experiments to ensuring stability over the next couple of years. And we need to adjust the clusters. And in that context, we've said that we need to redefine the thematic scope of the clusters. We have to have greater conceptual clarity for the thematic groups and probably start with a workshop so that we can bring in external experts in all these areas. And each group needs this in order to continue taking forward its work as GNLC. Then the next focus is reducing the number of clusters. Having 7 groups at the same time has been a difficult challenge to overcome. And very often this has meant that it's difficult for people to join in. But we want to even out participation, so we think it's probably better to reduce from 7 to 5 the number of clusters, keeping those themes where we have education for cities, sustainable development, supporting well-being, inclusion and literalization, technology, and then including immigration. This would mean that the technical topics of the clusters would mean that the learning cities would be selected for 2 years, and those cities would have the responsibility for ensuring updating of the cluster in line with the activities planned. So we need to have reports during the coordinators meeting on what has been done with all our lifelong learning institutes so that all the members of the clusters can keep pace. We think we need to organize coordination between the teams and Lifelong Learning Institute of these clusters so that leadership of the thematic clusters can be in the hands of the members. So as part of this, improving the work of the clusters, we would like to ensure better representation of cities. in the clusters. So the cities that are members of the clusters have to make sure that there is proper representation with respect to the focus of their activity. And we also need to improve our process to facilitate the implementation of exchange between thematic groups, which could be supported by setting up a good practice guide, a best practice guide for facilitation. And we need to have more specific products and action plans. What we're referring here to is understanding the difference between conceptions and working methods for the cities and the efforts designed to better coordinate between cities so that we can better comply with our working plan. So we need regular cluster coordinators and meetings so that we can provide progress reports. So apart from improving the cluster, we need to have greater participation by our technical partners, in particular local authorities. And this goes hand in hand with setting up expert groups for clusters in this sense, so that they can provide their advice and support, in particular to facilitate and support the work of the clusters and their members. When it comes to the second column, enhancing the collective learning experience, we need systematic support so as to create a database so that we can have learning between peers and support learning cities, in particular in Africa. We've decided that what we want is to develop a city-to-city coaching system, so there's more and better direct communication between learning cities as peers, but also that we should have the support when it comes to sharing the challenges and the success stories that we have, so that we can feed into and enrich the work that we are doing as member cities of the network. So we should have a peer-to-peer learning database. In that respect, we feel it's important to have much more direct communication between the different players and stakeholders. This could mean organizing workshops. In any case, better coordination of our activities. As far as integrating learning cities in Africa is concerned, the network members should draw on existing associations, for example, twinning projects between cities. And in particular, we need to provide capacity building possibilities in African cities, drawing on local expertise so that they can also become learning cities and join in the global network. When it comes to funding, which we think is one of the major challenges that we face and that we need to adjust depending on where we are from, this is a task that means that we should look around at the funding possibilities in our own countries. They need to be flexible, and it could either be in kind or in cash. But we need to draw on multiple donors in line with the needs and interests of the possible donors and partners that need to exploit the possibilities within their own national legal framework, also with the rules and standards that we have set for learning city funding. Now, what other funding partners could we have in this global network? Well, in that sense, we feel the national regional governments and sub-regional governments of the member states of UNESCO should have the possibility of participating, and there could also be multilateral organizations and other funding bodies. Doubtless, entrepreneurship could be a major source for providing strategic resources for the funding of the network. So we need to get in partners from civil society as well, NGOs, for example, educational institution, expert groups, and research institutes as well. So this is very briefly a summary of our proposals for improvement and what we have been discussing and what we intend to focus on over the next 2 years. Obviously, there will be a few minor changes to this document, but it will then be sent out to you, and we'll be requesting your input if you have any suggestions or proposals. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so very much, Mayor Juarez, for eloquently summing up the proposals from the Mayor's Forum on GNLC strategy. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, there will be a report from the Rapporteur General of the conference, Ms. Choi Un-sil. She's the chair of the Expert Advisory Committee and General Rapporteur. She'll be giving us a speech. Please welcome Ms. Choi Un-sil to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. And for the online participants, good afternoon and also the good morning. 3 fantastic, so wonderful day passed. So here and now, we are in the closing ceremony. I would like to, first of all, send my deepest appreciation to UIL, fantastic dream team, the David Acharena, and the other UIL teams. And also they, in collaboration with the Yeonsu, they did their best. Almost 1 year, they did the best and so successfully and fruitful conference is possible. So I would like to send my deepest appreciation for the team and also all the offline distinguished and honorable participants, mayors, and experts. Thank you so much. There are more than 2,000 online participants. Also, I would like to send my deep gratitude to all the participants. I'm proud to be the general rapporteur of the 5th International Conference on Learning City. My role today is to report briefly on the discussion that have taken place during the conference and highlight some of the key points which have made this such a unique platform for exchange. I will also provide some reflections to hopefully capture the essence of the conference. Yesterday, we had many distinguished guests contributing to our opening ceremony. Ms. Yoon, Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Education of the Republic of Korea, expressed gratitude and highlighted the necessity to work together to provide lifelong learning and create a favorable environment for education. Mr. Bang Nam-chun, Mayor of Incheon Metropolitan City, highlight the significance of hosting this conference in Incheon, in particular Yeonsu. An evolving international city, Yeonsu is ready to embrace international exchanges. Mr. Do Song-hoon, Superintendent of the Office of Education in Incheon Metropolitan City, called for reflection upon our vision for the future, preparing to live with COVID-19 and discussing these issues so as to make a healthy society. Our first keynote speaker, so honorable, His Highness Mr. Ban Ki-moon, former Secretary General of United Nations. As a keynote speakers, advocated international support and cooperation based on the principles of justice and equity, aiming at the sustainability of a health system and the achievement of sustainable development goals, SDGs. Mr. Nam Seok-ho, host city Yeonsu mayor, gave a warm welcome speech. More than 1 year, I watched Mayor Go did his best effort to this successful fifth international conference on learning cities. It's so amazing and very, very impressive, inspiring. I would like to send my deepest, in particular, thanks to Mayor Ko Nam-seok. He expressed his full faith in using lifelong learning as a tool to tackle the difficult issues and stressed the necessity of offering lifelong learning programs on health education in connection with the local communities, as well as formulating city policies grounded on lifelong learning. And Mr. David Navarro, HO Special Envoy for COVID-19, stressed the collaboration, particularly at community level, is of great importance. And cities should play their vital roles in people's public health. Representative of Korean National Assembly, Mr. Bak Chande and Mr. Jeong Il-young, and give remarks of congratulations and explain that Korea has found an opportunity in learning to fight against COVID-19 pandemic and has begun to establish an educational system to stand up to the crisis. Mr. Ms. Stefania Giannini, UNESCO Assistant Director General, expressed gratitude to Yeonsu City. She explained that now, more than ever, is a time for collaboration and that UNESCO take a holistic approach and vision of learning throughout life as a human right and the foundation for all development. Mr. David Chuarena, director of the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, reflected on how the COVID-19 pandemic has dramatically reshaped life in the learning city over the past 20 months and reported that the UNESCO Global Network for Learning Cities has found new ways to thrive. She stated that the fifth ICSC offers us the opportunity to reflect our experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic and establish new priorities for the promotion of lifelong learning in the city. I also watched Mr. David, so wonderful and fantastic, full support for this conference. Every week we have a conference, meeting, discussed. I never forget the Mr. David Chuarena's sacrifice and the fantastic collaboration. So wonderful. Another significant moment of the opening ceremony was the ICS handover ceremony, during which Mr. Daniel Quintero, mayor of Medellin, Colombia, transferred the honorable role of ICS host from Medellin to city of Yeonsu. Mayor Nam Seok-ho gladly accepted this role and conveyed his delight in picking up the torch, hoping that we will be able to work together to work against pandemic. In the first plenary session, speakers discussed the topic, learning for health, a new paradigm for the post-COVID era, sharing ideas and initiatives in this field. Councillor Colm Kohela, Lord Mayor of Cork Island, and Ms. Anne Doherty, Chief Executive of Cork City Council, put forward the argument that learning is a key tool for improving well-being and health of all. Mr. Alejandro Gomez Lopez, District Secretary of Health of Bogota, stressed the importance of the promoting health literacy and adopting an interdisciplinary approach to deal with future challenges. Mr. Sang-woo Kwak, Mayor of Osan GNLC, presented the city's strategies plan to promote better education to their citizens, encouraging civil society's participation and global partnership. Ms. Gadiaga, Director of Education, Social and Health Affairs of Bedia Way, demonstrated the city's commitment to build resilience among its citizens, including initiatives focused on women and youth. Finally, Mr. Didier Jordan, UNESCO Chair of Global Health Education, expressed the need to provide the population of cities with healthy literacy and citizenship for health, considering that this group must be part of a solution of health issues in urban areas. Plenary session second on resilient cities, strengthening communities and the local learning systems featured success stories from Mexico City and City of Goyang, Republic of Korea, Wolverhampton, and Shanghai, with reflective overall insights from Mr. Michael Osborne, University of Glasgow, on how cities have become more resilient by putting formal and non-formal education at the center of their transformation. Examples from this session highlight different challenges, and while each theory has unique approaches to addressing the challenges they face, at the core, they share the fundamental mechanism which a resilient city needs to respond adequately to future shocks and stress. Collaboration, whether within institutions and researchers, as seen in Mexico City, within localities and communities in Goyang, city of Goyang, the work of the Wolverhampton Council and Shanghai's public and private partnership collaboration is what ties communities together to build resilient cities for the future. Across these two insightful plenaries, we were left with two, though provoking ideas. First, as we slowly transition from emergency to normality, we must not lose the remarkable creativity we have been during the crisis. Second, we recognize the importance of strengthening residency in cities, but we know our cities already had resilience. We do not start from nothing. Today, We have been fortunate to experience a fascinating parallel session. I can't do justice to all the excellent present presenters in this short report, but your contributions will be reflected in our whole conference report later to be published after event. For now, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all speakers and moderators and share a brief overview of what was discussed. The speakers in the session of Parallel Forum 1.1 on spaces for health and well-being focused on partnerships between cities and their citizens in the development and the use of spaces. In addition, the importance of listening to the voices of young people who are advocating for change was emphasized. In Forum 1.2, speakers asserted the relevance of all stakeholders in promoting for learning for health as health affects all. Yet, it is important to focus on the grassroots level and the vulnerable populations. Federal Forum 1.3 looked at strengthening learning for health in the context of learning cities, with a focus on health literacy, an important dimension of learning for health, previewing perhaps humanity's greatest challenge. Federal Forum, second point one, investigated the role of lifelong learning in climate action. The speakers stressed that to combat climate change, education was the key, and lifelong learning was where people developed the capacity to act. And Federal Forum, second, two, addressed the need to foster healthy lifestyle in work and urban settings, exploring cities' role in making healthier the everyday lives of their citizens. In the forum, second point three, looked across learning cities at the contribution of global citizenship education to health. Finally, for the third set of parallel forums, which have only just finished, session 3.1 discussed the ways in which learning cities can provide comprehensive sexuality education, CSE, and the forum 3.2 reaffirmed the centrality of inclusive education to equitable lifelong learning, which is highly relevant to the UIL publications on inclusive lifelong learning in cities, released just a few days ago for the fifth ICSC. Finally, Parallel Forum 3.3 addressed the advantages of the technology for learning. In addition to the two plenaries and the 9 parallel thematic forums, we have had two important meetings of mayors. The first Mayors Forum on Wednesday featured a roundtable and a series of reports on the work of the 7 GNLC thematic clusters over the past 2 years. The second Mayors Forum, held earlier, focused on the UNESCO GNLC strategies for 2021-2023. We have already heard about some of the discussion around defining the works of the thematic cluster and more. And we can look forward to reading the final version of this strategy. We have had a busy and rewarding time over the past few days, thanks to a rich agenda comprised of the special sessions, including regional meetings. For example, the Asian Pacific Regional Meeting held here in Yeonsu had more than 100 participants in the offline base, including 44 in-person attendees and more than 15 mayors. We have also had a thematic summit of the ambassador and mayors involving more than 17 ambassadors and a session revealing the importance of the university to health, ICT, and more. On the top of all these special sessions, we have enjoyed so amazing, inspiring cultural performance experience. You know, it is AI, artificial intelligence, composed the Vivaldi's first season. It is really amazing. It is the first our experience to review and feel the AI composed totally different for season. Amazing. It, the theme is the unpredictability, uncertain climate change. How can we overcome? We can find the hope from the performance. We never give up. We never disappear. We will keep our hope. We learn and get a lesson from the culture performance. Across all these sessions, I'm reminded of the importance of the key features of the UNESCO GNLC, such as the involvement of the all stakeholders, celebration, inclusion, and the active leadership of the political will by the city mayors. We should therefore, at this moment, reassert the importance of the key features of the GNLC. All sessions have confirmed these features remain highly relevant to all the global cities. Finally, collaboration between government, civil society, the public sector, the private sector, and the media, all kind of the partnership and the collaboration is very important. So we must reconfirm at the 5th International Conference on Learning Cities the importance of the collaboration and networking. I will conclude my report with some final old saying from the African proverb. If we want to go faster, go alone. If we want to go far, go together. We never give up our collaboration and networking. We will go together. And also, we will think globally and act locally. We must not forget the UNESCO Centennial Dolores Report, the 4 pillars of the report: learning to be, learning to do, learning to live together, learning to be. This is our principle and the philosophy of UNESCO lifelong learning. We would like to, the end of this 5th International Conference on Learning Cities, add up one more 5th pillar: learning to survive, learning to sustain. Again, thanks all the participants and the city of Yeonsu and the UIL. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Choi Un-sil. She is the chair of the Expert Advisory Committee and the General Rapporteur, lending us her expertise and enthusiasm in reporting the discussion at the conference. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for the long-awaited and much anticipated adoption of the Yeonsu Declaration. For that, I would like to ask to the stage all 7 drafting committee members. Once again, calling out all 7 members to the stage to read out the declaration. Please welcome them with a round of applause. Amazing. How about we start with another big hand?
Ladies and gentlemen, here in Korea and all over the world, it is a great honor for all the members of the committee to present the declaration that wraps the work of the conference. This is the result of our work, and this is the expression of our commitment to building healthy and resilient cities through lifelong learning. This text will be known in the future as the Yeonsu Declaration for Learning Cities. It is our responsibility to see this text being disseminated, put in practice, and contribute to the promotion of the lifelong learning for all at a global level. We're gonna proclaim the 28th article of the declaration, and we invite you to stand up.
Could you please stand up? Rise from your seat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeonsu Declaration for Learning Cities, building healthy and resilient cities through lifelong learning. Preamble, Article 1.
We, the mayors, deputy mayors, officials and representatives from 229 learning cities in 64 countries worldwide, education executives, education experts, representatives of UN agencies, the private sector, and regional, international, and civil society organizations have convened both online and in person in Yeonsu, Republic of Korea, from 27 to 30 October 2021 for the 5th International Conference on Learning Cities, ICLC, dedicated to building healthy and resilient cities through learning.
Article 2.
We gather during an unprecedented crisis that emerged due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which endangered the health of populations and forced governments around the world to close learning institutions, affecting nearly 1.6 billion children and students in more than 119 countries and countless adult learners, with a profound impact on mental health and well-being.
Article 3.
We underline that with more than half of humanity living in urban areas, cities have a key role in promoting learning for health and strengthening resilience.
Article 4.
We recognize that the COVID-19 pandemic has hit vulnerable populations hardest, and has fueled inequality in cities, exacerbating pre-existing issues as well as giving rise to new forms of inequality. And this requires a collective response through education and lifelong learning to avoid the risk of an even greater increase in health inequality.
Article 5.
We command members of the UNESCO Global Network of Learning City on their commitment to lifelong learning throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, including the effort to promote health literacy among local population and their capacity to now expand on innovative strategy and program implemented during the crisis.
Article 6.
We convey our gratitude to the mayor of Yenso and his city for their leadership as hosts of the fifth ICLC, demonstrating great adaptability and commitment throughout this period of difficulty.
Our commitment to building healthy and resilient cities through lifelong learning. We commit to Article 7.
The political will necessary to place lifelong learning for the health, the development of resilience at the center of our city's agenda, recognizing the influence this has on development within the city, as well as the resonance of such leadership at national and international levels.
Article 8.
Paying attention to the specific contextual factors of each of our cities in order to implement policies and initiatives of learning for health in a way that involves everyone in the city and consider local communities, social and cultural perceptions of health-related issues, including indigenous knowledge.
Article 9.
Implementing in responses to crisis coordinated local plans for the preservation and provision of essential services, including emergency medical services, sexual and reproductive health services, education, public transport, housing, and sanitation.
Article 10.
Working with and empowering local people to develop capacities to protect their own health by providing an array of education tools for the acquisition of knowledge about the virus, transmission prevention, self-protection, and effective use of the healthcare system.
Article 11.
Establishing a new paradigm for learning for health in city, a concept which includes mental health and well-being and a personal and societal resource for health literacy and citizenship for health.
Article 12.
As a dimension of learning for health, promoting health literacy in the city, meaning that ability to locate, understand, and critically evaluate health information, including through technology, and to apply that information to solve health issues, and supporting local people to identify false information and reduce its impact on health-related decision-making.
Article 13.
Strengthening citizenship for health in recognition of the wide societal impact of health issues and the common good of global health, giving learners more agency to act with ethical and social responsibility when it comes to their own health and the health of their own communities.
Article 14.
Strengthening resilient cities in terms of community resilience, multi-sectoral planning involving local people, and bottom-up and top-down policies and practices to foster long-term resilience in communities, as well as the resilience of local learning systems, particularly with regard to the continuation of learning in cities during crisis, as well as ways of protecting learning systems in the face of the future disruption through innovation and technology.
Article 15.
ensuring that learning opportunities involve and respond to the needs of the vulnerable populations, including children, understanding that vulnerabilities are often intersectional, meaning individual learners may experience multiple forms of disadvantage at the same time, and that people with lower levels of education often have lower levels of health literacy.
Article 16.
Recognizing the contributions of the formal education sector, including schools, universities, and technical and vocational education and training institutions, to learning for health and resilience in cities throughout and beyond the COVID-19 pandemic, namely their adaptability in ensuring the continuation of learning and the provision of health education.
Article 17.
Building the capacities of local non-formal learning providers, recognizing the positive impact of early childhood care and education on health, as well as the long-term roles of youth and adult learning centers and organizations in creating learning opportunities for health awareness and promoting the use of technology for health literacy.
Article 18.
Making use of informal space within our city for learning for health and to develop resilience include homes, local neighborhood, workspace, green space, public transport, municipality building, and the digital sphere.
Article 19.
Broadening the scope of stakeholder involvement in lifelong learning at the city level so that the health sector is well represented, including health professionals, practitioners, and experts, as well as stakeholders in the field of urban design, in the knowledge that city planning decisions impact health and learning.
Article 20.
Strengthening our efforts to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and assert the contribution of learning cities to all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality of education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 8, employment and decent work, SDG 11, make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, and SDG 13, combat climate change.
Way forward. Article 21.
We will endeavor to integrate these commitments into local actions and development strategies in order to strengthen learning for health and to develop resilience in our cities, specifically by capitalizing on the recent mobilization of mayors to design and implement post-pandemic recovery plans.
Article 22.
In the transition from emergency to normality, we will capitalize on and preserve the creativity that has emerged during COVID-19 pandemic, including more collaborative approaches to learning.
Article 23.
We will diversify resources, raise funds, and develop financial mechanisms to ensure the realizations of these local actions, development strategies, and post-pandemic recovery plans.
Article 24.
We will conduct a research budget and data driving review of the city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic in order to learn, listen, and build the resilience in preparation for future crises.
Article 25.
As members of UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities, we will strengthen the solidarity of the network through knowledge sharing, technology transfer, and the dissemination of good practice in cities at the global level.
Article 26.
We call on national governments to adopt new policies for lifelong learning for health and support the development of resilient cities in UNESCO member states.
Article 27.
We urge UNESCO to reinforce collaboration across its networks, and specifically between the UNESCO Cities Platform and UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities during the post-pandemic period.
Article 28.
Furthermore, we commit to engaging with the main activity areas of the UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities as set out in the new strategy of the network.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's celebrate the birth of the Yonsu Declaration with a big round of applause. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. What a moment for all, and especially Yeonsu. We thank each and every participating cities for their contribution to adopting the Yeonsu Declaration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the adoption of the declaration is certainly a tremendous feat and a moment that will go down in history, which I believe calls for a celebration. To commemorate this moment, we have with us a special musical guest, harmonicist Park Jong-sung, and he's the first Korean to win the first prize in the tremolo solo section at the World Harmonica Festival. It is called the Olympics of Harmonica. It's held every 4 years in Germany. Now, he is the first student to major in harmonica in a Korean university. And on screen, you will see a picture book visualizing the key concepts in the Yeonsu Declaration. Now, without any further ado, please welcome harmonicist Park Jong-sung.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 하모니카 연주자 하모니시스트 박종성입니다. 반갑습니다.
I'm Pak Jong-song, and I play harmonica, and I'm very, very pleased to see you all here. Thank you so much for inviting me to this outstanding event. You have just heard Seiya Seiya, which is a traditional Korean song that I have interpreted my own way. And now that will be followed by something that I hope will enable us to become even better. It's a song called A Wonderful, A Beautiful Country. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was harmonicist Park Jong-sung. It really seems to me that the tunes seem to ring deep into the hearts of the listeners. That was very amazing, setting the tone for a pleasant and relaxing night. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope to draw your attention to the screen for a short video we put together of scenes and moments we shared at the 5th International Conference on Learning Cities. Please take a look.
어리석은 세상은 너를 몰라 누에 속에 감춰진 너를 못 봐 나는 알아 내겐 보여 그토록 찬란한 너의 날개 겁내지 마 할 수 있어 뜨겁게 꿈틀거리는 날개를 펴 날아올라 세상 위로 태양처럼 빛을 내는
gustaría que pasara que la gente pensara más en los demás y que cuiden más el medio ambiente.
Y nada, que se apoyen más las danzas, poder compartir en varios espacios culturales, en varios países, que no se tome tanto como artísticamente, sino que se tome más como un trabajo.
저는 세상 사람들이 코로나 방역 수칙을 잘 지켜서 코로나 없는 세상을 만들어야 할 것 같아요. 방역 수칙을 잘 지킵시다.
서로가 이기적이지 않으면 나아질 수 있다고 생각해요. 자기 혼자만을 위한 것이 아니라 모두가 행복해지는 세상을 만들어야죠. 법을 지키고 어려운 사람들 도와주고 나 스스로가 세상에 도움을 줄 수 있는 노력하는 자세가 필요하다고 생각합니다.
소통을 많이 해야 할 것 같아요. 서로 협력하여 위기를 극복하는 것이 작은 이야기에도 귀 기울여주고 발전하는 모습이 필요하다고 봅니다.
서로 사랑해야지요. 인간이든 자연이든 서로 아끼고 사랑하면은 모두가 행복해지지 않겠어요? 전쟁, 자연재해 그런 건 일어나지 않아요. 어렵지 않아요. 지금부터라도 당장 당신의 이웃에게 친절을 베푸는 모습을 보이세요.
Truly one of a kind, very touching. Looking back, every moment was very precious. Ladies and gentlemen, time really flies when we are having a great time together. Hope we can put our hands together to thank each other for the strong support and friendship. Thank you. Now, as we draw the conference to an end, we will now have closing remarks. And first, let's invite to the stage Mayor Ko Nam-seok.
어떻게 잘 보셨나요? 우리 이런 작품을 가장 빠르게 이렇게 만들어서 여러분들께 함께 할 수 있도록 도와주신 많은 예술인들과 함께한 많은 분들께 우리 다 같이 뜨거운 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 존경하는 전 세계 GNH 관계자 여러분, 저희 시장님들은 지난 1년 반 동안에 500만 명의 우리의 사랑하는 시민들을 잃었습니다. 전쟁이 끝나지 않은, 바이러스 전쟁이 끝나지 않은 이 순간에 자신의 도시를 놓고 이 연수구까지 온 이유, 그것은 오로지 나는 1년 반 동안 나의 도시를 위해, 나의 사랑하는 나의 시민들을 위해서 정말 최선을 다했는가? 나의 행동이 사랑하는 나의 시민들을 혹 죽음으로 내몰지는 않았는가? 고민의 고민을 우리 연수구에 와서 우리 시장들은 마음을 열고 자신이 해왔던 최선의 길과 다른 시장님들이 해왔던 최선의 길을 서로 확인하고 위로하면서 아직 끝나지 않은 이 전쟁에서 우리 모두와 같이 함께 승리할 수 있는 길을 찾고자 지금 이 순간 이 자리에 저희는 있는 것입니다. 우리에게는 주저할 시간도 실망할 시간도 없습니다. 아직 사랑하는 우리의 주민들이 우리의 정책과 우리의 뜨거운 행동을 기다리고 있기 때문에 저는 우리 연수 선언이 모든 해결책을 담고 있지는 않지만 코로나 끝나지 않은 이 상황에서 우리 모두의 지혜를 지난 1년 반 동안 가슴 아픈 우리의 마음을 담아서 최선을 다해서 연수 선언을 작성했습니다. 그 선언문은 우리에게는 피눈물 같은 선언문입니다. 우리는 이것이 단지 선언문으로 끝날 것이 아니라 우리 모두에게 우리 사랑하는 시민들을 보호하기 위한 무기로 삼아 현장에서 실천하고 또 실천할 거라고 확신합니다. 그리고 UIL이 데비드 소장의 위대한 지도력 속에서 이러한 훌륭한 내용들을 담아주신 데 대해서 깊이 감사드립니다. 우리는 이제 헤어집니다. 그러나 지난 3일간 우리가 함께 해온 굳건한 연대와 마음을 열고 함께 엮어진 이 소중한 인연은 우리 가슴속에 남아 전 지구를 돌아 평생 우리 사랑하는 시민들을 위해서 우리는 지혜를 갖고 행동할 것입니다. 정말 감사합니다. 그동안 불편하고 힘들었던 일은 저에게 넘겨주시고 기쁘고 사랑스러웠던 추억들만 담고 돌아가십시오. 그리고 여러분의 사랑하는 시민들께 자랑스럽게 우리 시장들이 모여서 코로나 이후에 다음 미래 세대를 위해서 우리 시장들이 단결하여 이 지구를 영원히 자연과 공존하고
Affirmed our determination to work together across all stakeholder groups, sharing our experience and best practices for a better future. And it's this spirit of sharing and appreciation, not to show off what we know, but to serve a better future. I think that will be the spirit that will guide us until we meet again in 2 years. Thank you so much.
Was a remarks filled with passion. And ladies and gentlemen, now it is time to ask to the stage and put our hands together to welcome Mr. David Acho Arena for his closing remarks.
Thank you. After those words of optimism, engagement, which I'm sure will inspire all the members of the network of learning cities, I would like to say a few words about some of the, I would say, findings and takeaway from this conference. I'm not, of course, going to repeat what has been said so eloquently already by our
General Rapporteur, but I would just like to underline a few points which I think are worth taking to bring again forward the work of the network. First of all, in connection with the conference itself, with the International Conference of Learning Cities, the ICLC, I think that this gathering here in Yeonsu confirmed the importance of this conference as a key moment in the life of the network, a key moment to take stock of the achievements of the network and of the cities, a key moment also to celebrate the success of some of the cities which have demonstrated outstanding achievements through the award that was given the first day of the conference. It's also a key moment to facilitate peer learning, to facilitate policy sharing among the members of the network. It's also an important moment to meet each other. Of course, this year, this dimension was a little bit, I would say, special, but thanks to the technology and all the colleagues who in the back door facilitated the communication, I think it was also through the virtual platform an important opportunity to meet across the different regions. And finally, it was also, of course, an important moment for the way forward, and I'd like to congratulate also the mayors for adopting the new strategy for the network that will even further reinforce, improve, expand the work of the network as a vehicle to really promote access to lifelong learning for all in the member cities. Now on the topic itself, of course, I think that health, well-being and resilience, that was a very topical subject to discuss in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. As we just heard from Mr. Nam Sok-ko, the pandemic is not over. We still have to be very mobilized, attentive, proactive to ensure that the international community eventually manages to overcome this crisis. And here again, of course, cities have a key role to play, as we've heard during this conference, a key role to play also in promoting lifelong learning as a tool for health education and for resilience. I think what we've heard during this conference, that lifelong learning is a must to actually promote preventive measures in the context of COVID-19. We saw that lifelong learning is a lifesaver, and that's true in all parts of the world. But we also saw that it's not only about emergency responses to the crisis. It's also about building resilience for long-term sustainability. And I think, again, that we've had a number of illustrations of this dimension throughout the discussions on how lifelong learning can serve to build sustainable, resilient cities. So it's about really developing a sense of solidarity across cities. It's about using lifelong learning so that people can take care of themselves, can take care of the others, and can take care of the planet. So I think that the discussion demonstrated again that cities have a key role to play in relation to lifelong learning, in relation to sustainability. And I would like to maybe stress the importance of citizenship and citizenship education as a key dimension for health, for resilience as well. I'd like to refer to the exhibition, the expo that was organized by the city of Yeonsu within the framework of this conference, with a particular focus also on citizenship and citizenship education. And we've heard that health and well-being is in fact an important component of sustainability. We've heard again that the COVID-19 crisis
is also related to another crisis, which is the climate crisis. And I think that it's worth recalling that as this conference is closing, while the international community is now moving towards Glasgow for COP26, where I'm sure lifelong learning will also be mentioned. And I think that in that context, I want to stress also the fact that cities have a key role to play in actually engaging for climate action. And here I would like to congratulate the city of Yeonsu and the mayor of Yeonsu, Mr. Nam Sang-ko, for another declaration, which was actually presented this morning within the framework of this conference and the Expo on Citizenship Education, which is the declaration for carbon neutrality. So by 2050, so the city of Yeonsu committed to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2050. I think this is something which is worth noting, and I'd like to again ask you to join me in applauding the city of Yeonsu for this commitment, which as COP26 is starting shows also, I think, the way forward. So again, we have, I think, very strong now outcomes of this conference, very concrete outcomes with a new strategy, but also, as we just heard, with a strong declaration. And I'd like to thank the members of the drafting committee for a very fine work, which I think reflects very well really the outcomes of this conference and the spirit in which learning cities are actually proposing to, well, committing to advance really the agenda for health, well-being, and resilience through lifelong learning. So congratulations also to the members of the drafting committee. I would like now to, before ending, to thank, yes, time for words of thanks. Je voudrais bien sûr commencer par
And I would naturally like to begin by thanking most warmly Mr. Nam Sang-ko, the mayor of Yeonsu, for his most excellent welcome, the professionalism with which this whole conference was organized here in Yeonsu, the professionalism of his entire team. And I would like to highlight the fact that delegates appreciated the quality of the organization, but also the kindness and warmth with which they have been welcomed here in Yeonsu. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to your entire team. And again, I would encourage you to give them a round of applause. I would also naturally like to thank Monsieur the Minister of Education for participating in this conference and for her opening words, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, naturally, former Secretary General of the United Nations, who did us the honor of being present and giving us a keynote speech that was a great inspiration to guide us in our reflection throughout the following days. I'd also like to thank Ms. Park Nam-shon for also contributing to the organization and supporting the organization of this conference, and also the superintendent of the Indian Bureau of Education for his precious support. I'd like to thank the Secretary General of the National Commission for UNESCO for the wonderful support that has been provided during the preparation and during the conference itself. The president, of course, who's done us the honor of being with us and who's also participated in the drafting of the declaration. It was also an honor to have Mr. David Navarro among our speakers, Special Envoy of WHO for COVID. I would like to thank him very much for his presence. Professor Nchichoi, thank you also for your commitment as the chair of the preparatory committee for the conference and as rapporteur general of our work. Also, as I previously indicated, I'd like to thank all of the members of the drafting committee for their contributions and all of the mayors who participated in this conference, both here in Yeonsu and of course online, thanks to the assistance of technology. Once again, our thanks to the entire Yeonsu team. Thank you for your help and your support throughout these months of preparation, and I cannot mention them all. Mr. Yang Bio-chin, Mrs. Yang Byung-jong, and Mr. Yeon-sik Kim, and Mr. Baek, the coordinators. I would definitely like to thank for the support, and Ayang-bae also, who was the interface between the UIL team in Hamburg and the Yeonsu team right here. The technical work of Yipeng was also excellent. And I think that it must also be said, because this has enabled us to have fluid communication with all the mayors who have participated around the globe. I'd also like to thank our interpretation team for the indispensable contribution to our exchanges and the technical teams of UNESCO in Paris for their support in helping us communicate. The interpreters thank the gentleman for his kind words. We'd also like to thank all of those participants who have been following our discussions. And let me say a few words also of thanks to our colleagues of UIL who have been working over the past few months with the Yeonsu team under Raul Valdez-Cotera, who has also been in charge of the coordination of our work with his team, Christina Luz, Alex Owell, and all the other members of the team, and also Katia Rama for communication. I'd like to thank each and every one of you, and I do hope that you have all been able to appreciate the work achieved. Now, at this stage, and before I close the conference, I would like to ask Mr. Daniel Baril, the chair of the board of UIL, to join me, as well as Raul Valdez-Cotera.
The mayor of Yeonsu, with a small souvenir from UAL. Mr. Namsanko, please, if you'd like to join us on stage. So, Mr. Mayor, please accept a very modest souvenir on behalf of UAL.
What a pleasant surprise. And it calls for a nice photo opportunity. Could you please pose for the photographers? Thank you so very much. Hope we can put our hands together to thank all our amazing leaders and gentlemen.
I would like also to invite Professor Unchi Choi to join us on stage. like also to really express our gratitude for all your work for several months, your guidance, your support, both in preparation for the conference, also as a chair of the advisory committee that was put in place, and of course now as a rapporteur general. So thanks a lot for your support. Thank you. I would like now at this stage to declare formally the fifth ICLC closed. Again, congratulations to all of you. And for those of you who are in Yeonsu, well, the program is not entirely finished because we still have another program of visit tomorrow, but will give us an opportunity to discover, I would say, on site, a number of of lifelong learning institutions here in the city of Yeonsu. Thanks also, Mr. Mayor, for organizing this program of visits, which I think will very nicely complement our experience here in Yeonsu. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. As mentioned by our Mr. Director, the success of the fifth ICLC would not have been possible without your dedication and encouragement. With that said, our director has officially concluded the conference. Please head to the farewell dinner, which will be held down the hallway at the Premier Ballroom. Premier Ballroom is the location of our farewell dinner. And before that, we would like to have a quick photo opportunity. We'd like to ask our distinguished guests to please join us on stage for a photo opportunity, a quick group photo session with our distinguished guests. We'd like to invite our members of delegations who would be interested in having a quick photo session. There seems to be a lot of delegate members who are absent. We would like to once again call our delegate members to join us on stage for a group photo session. It's quite a sight from here, so we would like to ask all delegate members to join us on stage for this very special opportunity. It looks beautiful. It looks amazing from here. Could you please pose for the photographers in front? Okay. It seems like the end row, we can't see well your faces. So if you can sort of find a niche in between the heads, that would be great. And especially, yes, if you, for find a big spacing in between so that we could have a clear shot of everybody. On three, 1, 2, 3, give us a big smile. And let's try out some different poses. How about we first go with the finger heart? Using your thumb and your index finger, please. Yes. A finger heart. Yes, you can use both hands, if you will. Finger heart. Lovely. Looks amazing. And then let's wave. Let's wave. See you again. See you again very soon. Wow. Beautiful. Perfect. Thank you so very much. Now we will be heading to the premier ballroom for the dinner.